Hello, welcome all to my channel. Today we are going to learn the primary key in the DBMS. For the previous lecture, we have already started the introduction about the key. In that, we just see what do you mean by the key and why there is a need of a key in the DBMS. Now for today's session, we are going to learn the primary key in detail. So let's start. As we already know that primary key is nothing but a single attribute or a set of an attribute that can uniquely identify a row or tuple from the relation. So whenever your data will be consist of some of the redundancy, then that row can be uniquely identified with the help of a key. We can directly identify the column with the help of an names, but to uniquely identify the rows from the relation, we have to take the help of a key. There are the different types of the keys present in a DBMS. They are broadly classified as primary key, candidate key, super key, foreign key, alternate key, composite key, and artificial key. For the today's session, we just see the primary key in detail. Let's start. What do you mean by the primary key first of all? A primary key is a column of a table or set of columns that helps to identify every record present in that table uniquely. Please remember over here the word uniquely is very, very important. Whatever the records available, values available in that column, they are not repeated. Each and every value is unique in that particular column. So this is the first condition for the column to become as a primary key. Secondly, primary key cannot have the same values repeating for any of the row. That means every value of the primary key must be different with no repetition. That means the repetitions are not allowed. Nextly, the primary key constraint put on a column or a set of columns will not allow them to have any null value. That is again very, very important that particular column which is going to declared as a primary key must not contain any of the null value. Each and every value in that column should be a non-zero value. It is having some of the value other than 0. Then and then only you can consider that key as a primary key. And the last very important condition over here that one table can have only one primary key constant. Though there are the different columns can satisfy both of these conditions, but only out of that, only one can be considered as a primary key. It depends on the requirement of a programmer whom you can be called as a primary key. So in short, any of the column is called as a primary key only when it satisfies the two conditions. One is that every value in that particular column is unique, no repetitions are allowed, and second one is it must have the not null value. Any of the null value is not accepted, and one table have only one single primary key. We will be just see one example. In that, with this example, we will be just learn how to find out the primary key. As per the definition, attribute or a group of an attributes of a table must contain a unique value for each row and cannot contain any of the null value. Then and then only we can be called it as a primary key. For that, let's consider this one is the university database. It consists of the different attributes such as registration number, roll number, name, age, mobile number, and bank account number. Now we are just checking out the possibility of each and every column that can be considered as primary key or not. So firstly, let's consider the name. Obviously, the name does not having the null value. But what about the unique value? You can say that the two students from the university may having the same name. So in that case, we don't find their names to be as a unique one. So the name this is not following the both of the condition, and that's why it cannot be declared as a primary key. Nextly, consider the another attribute that is age. Obviously, each and every human having some age, so it does not consist of any of the null value. But we can't get a unique value for each of the row for the age, because there may be the two students in the university may having the same age. In that case, we don't get a unique value. So age also not considered for the primary key. Nextly, we are going to consider the mobile number. Obviously, mobile number does not having any of the null value. We can't find the same value for the two students. But in some of the rare cases, what happens is that there are the two siblings that took the admission in the university and they are providing their mobile number as their father's mobile number. So in that case, we can find the repetition of the mobile number. And that's why in that case, we can't get a unique value for the mobile number also. Nextly, consider the bank account number. Obviously, we cannot find the bank account number to be as a null in any of the keys. But what happens in the rare case, may be student does not having any of the account number. So in that case, we get the null value. Obviously, it having the unique value for each and every person having the different account number. So it gives you the unique value. But in some of the inverse condition, there may be the possibility that one particular student does not have an account number, and in that case, there is no any value we have with us. So that one is also not applicable for the primary key. Nextly, we are going to just see the roll number. Obviously, it does not have the null value. As far as one particular class is going to be concerned, each and every student is uniquely identified with the roll number. But what happens from the university? The university may be consist of the different departments. So the student from one department having the roll number, that is one student from the CS department having roll number 5, the same roll number may be available in the IT department student also. That's why in that particular case, we don't get the unique value for the roll number. If you consider the database for the class, then obviously it may be considered as a primary key. But here we have considered for the university, and that's why here it is not be considered as a primary key. Nextly, we will be just go to the last one, that is registration number. Every student when took the admission for any of the stream in the university providing him a identification number called as a registration number. University give some kind of the different identification for each and every student. So in that case, we will be get a unique value as well as not null value. That registration number does not having the null value. It always a non-zero value. In this way, this registration number follows both of the condition, that is having a unique value for every student which is registered or entered, admitted in the university, and also it does not contain any of the null value. So in this case, we can say that the registration number may be declared as a primary number. In this way, we can decide the primary, any of the column to be work as a primary key when it satisfied two conditions, that is having a unique value and not null value. There may be the case that any of the more than one column may satisfy both of the conditions. Out of that, only one will be declared as a primary key, and it depends on the requirement of the database. Nextly, this one is another example of the employee table. An employee may be having the different identification parameters, that is employee ID, employee name, address, passport number, license number, SSN, etc. Out of that, any of one is going to be declared here. Employee ID is the unique, most probably considered as a unique because every person having the different ID, and that's why it may be considered as a primary key. For each entity, the primary key selection is based on the requirement and the developer's need. So in this way, we can be declared the primary key based on the requirements which satisfy both of the conditions. In this way, we have learned the primary key, what we mean by the primary key, how it is going to be selected. This one is for today's session. Thank you.